For a company that creates indie animation, Glitch Productions is a pretty large company, creating many popular shows across the entirety of YouTube, gaining millions upon millions of views. Glitch Productions has become very beloved across the entire indie animation community. And with more and more shows being announced and being released by Glitch Productions, the future certainly looks very bright. But the thing is, there are a few things that raise concerns. If you've stuck around with Glitch Productions for basically since its beginning, whether it be when Murder Drones was first released or when The Amazing Digital Circus was released, it was very clear that Glitch Productions was trying to not follow the road that other corporate companies like Disney or just any big company in general, whether it be in movie or TV show production or video game production, really follow, which is corporate greed and meddling and stuff like that. Which is a large reason on why they do not sell out to any other big companies. The closest they get is to making streaming deals such with Netflix and Digital Circus, but even then, they still retain full creative rights to the actual story and show. Now this is obviously for the best. We wouldn't want just trash stories being put out by Glitch Productions just to get money. We want actual genuine good stories that we are genuinely interested in watching, have interesting characters, interesting worlds and plots and whatever. But because Glitch Productions can't really make any deals with other companies to get more funding for their shows, they have to fund it completely independently, thus being called an independent company. This causes them to rely a lot on merch sales, and although it's been working for them for a pretty decent while, how long can they last just relying on merch? Now sure, Glitch Productions does have a lot of good shows that have a large fan base, an audience that is willing to spend money on multiple pieces of merch, examples being Murder Drones or Digital Circus. However, these shows have hundreds of millions of views, especially The Amazing Digital Circus, pulling in record numbers for indie animation. These two shows, especially The Amazing Digital Circus, struck gold with the internet, whether it be later in their show's development or even just in the pilot. And Glitch Productions can exactly always strike gold on every single one of their TV shows. A perfect example of this is The Gaslight District, a newly released pilot that Glitch Productions made collaborating with Part-Time Seagull. Now the Gaslight District pilot currently sits at 13 million views after 12 days of being released. Now although that may sound like a lot compared to its predecessors, it's not exactly too high, especially if you're trying to base an entire series around it. There is also Gaslight District merch, and given the view count on the pilot and also let's just be nice taking in on the teaser as well. Personally, I'm pretty sure that these view counts don't exactly translate very well to numbers on merch purchases. So overall, the Gaslight District may not even be given a full season, considering its popularity not exactly being the highest, and merch sales most likely being pretty low. Something that could have attributed it to the low view count or popularity of the Gaslight District could have been the advertising for it. It was announced over a year ago in Glitch X 2024, and although there was probably a lot of hype for it when it was first announced, it obviously died out over the course of over a year. So the advertising for the Gaslight District was kind of bad. But how does this affect the future of Glitch Productions? Who's to say that they're gonna do this again? Except that they already have. Do you remember that 2D animated show that Glitch Productions announced a few months ago called The Knights of Guinevere? If you don't remember it or are just now realizing that you haven't thought about it for the past few months, then you are completely valid. There was only one teaser released along with just a couple of community posts and tweets about it, along with the announcement of a new 2D animation site or wing to their company, and also their interactions and the announcement of them working with the creator of the Owl House. And they said that hopefully, although this isn't a guarantee, that the pilot would release at the very end of this year. So once again, Glitch Productions has promised us a new show, or at least a pilot, for something we weren't going to even see for an entire year or even more, since it isn't guaranteed that it will be done. Glitch Productions is making a lot of promises on making new shows, ones that constantly push their boundaries as a company, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just that they should probably announce these shows just like a couple months before their actual trailers come out. As you see with the Gaslight District, it didn't exactly help its popularity when its teaser, or at least first teaser, was released over a year before its actual trailer was released, which then released a month before its pilot came out. What I fear is that Glitch Productions will continue this marketing strategy and its shows won't get enough views or popularity or even attention because all of the hype for these shows is dying out because the teaser is being released way before the actual pilot or even just another trailer is released. This leads to lower view counts, which leads to less less popularity for the show, which leads to less sales in merch, which leads to less funding for Glitch Productions. Now, the reason why Glitch Productions could be releasing these teasers way before even another trailer or its pilot is released is because of YouTube, or just its fans in general. Most likely, Glitch Productions is forced to release something every month or so to keep its fans happy. Going on for long periods of time without giving any updates might lead you in kind of a Murder Drone situation. If you are unaware, Murder Drones between episodes 6 and 7 had a extreme drought of content. Now, although there was other content like The Amazing Digital Circus being released and stuff like that, Murder Drones fans felt kind of left out and cut out of the Glitch Productions family. If Glitch Productions doesn't release something every month or so, they'll probably get their fans bored, start losing even more interest into what they're making, and they'll lose permanent viewers and subscribers. Now sure, they could release merch every month or so, but it's probably not even that simple, as they probably need to manufacture, develop, create prototypes, and then eventually mass produce all of their merch. And also, there's so many things in Murder Drones that you can make into marketable stuff. So overall, Glitch Productions most likely feels obligated to create new show teasers and stuff like that to post every single month to keep its fans happy, which would overall start hurting their shows in the future, like it just did with the Gaslight District, at least that's what I think, and perhaps might hurt their funding, thus hurting their quality or even quantity in the future. Now, I saved this last concern for the end of the video, as it's not exactly a huge one or even probably a correct one to even have, but I decided to include in this video just so I can clear my mind. Glitch Productions is currently juggling a lot of shows right now, currently trying to animate both The Amazing Digital Circus, probably the Gaslight District, although I don't really know if that's gonna get a full first season, judging on its view count and most likely merchandise. But let's be nice and say that it does get greenlit for a full season. They'd be juggling The Amazing Digital Circus, the Gaslight District, and the Knights of Guinevere all at the same time, trying to produce all 3 shows. And since animation isn't getting any cheaper and the quality isn't getting any lower, I'm guessing this is not only going to cost more money, but also a lot more time and effort. Now, I don't exactly know the scale of Glitch Productions and its animation team, but to be fair, they are animating not only 2 3D animated shows, with one of them being kind of a mixture of both 2D and 3D, but also a 2D animated show, which they've never done before, creating an entire new wing to their company, which is going to take a lot of time, a lot more effort, and a ton of money. And combined with the fact that their profits will probably keep going down if they continue this pattern of releasing teasers a year or even more before just another trailer or its pilot comes out, it's going to be very interesting and also very frightening to see where Glitch Productions ends up a year or 2 from now. But perhaps my concerns are just stupid. Maybe I'm just overreacting, or I have my information wrong, or my facts are incorrect. Let me know if I am completely wrong or completely valid for my concerns in the comments below. And while you're at it, subscribe and like and do all the other stuff that I need you to do. Anyways, I'll see you guys in another video next week.